So in 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, with many places under stay at home orders, Netflix brought us the awesome spectacle that was Tiger King. It took the world by storm and it became a crazy entry into pop culture. Now, season 2 has just now been released, but does it capture the charismatic zaniness of that first season? So, season 2 continues to follow the antics of all that were involved in what became the downfall and incarceration of Joe Exotic. I started watching this new season early in the morning, and episode 1 just had way too much Donald Trump that was necessary to start off the day. The first episode does help to set the stage for the mindsets and motivations of the people that believe Joe Exotic is innocent and how they tried to use political power to free him. It also lets you know kind of what the tone for the whole thing will be, and we're pretty much guaranteed right from the start that this is going to be an insane dive into conspiracies, greed, and of course, madness. So if you're looking for more Joe Exotic, we don't have a lot since he's still in jail. So there are some short comments inserted here and there throughout the documentary. There's a lot of time spent with the players that surrounded Joe Exotic, though. There's a focus on Carol Baskin and the investigation surrounding the disappearance of her former husband. And we have this story arc, I'm going to call it that follows Jeff Lowe. And then there are portions with some of the players that were intertwined between Jeff and Joe, like Tim Stark. And that dude, is a whack job like none other. But the kooky thing is that I can't tell if he's actually unhinged or if he's playing up some persona for the camera. Now, the subjects are mostly larger than life, and it feels through a bunch of this that because of how explosively popular the first season was, these people are now playing to the audience in an effort to garner more attention and then up their social profile. I mean, negative publicity is still publicity. So many of these appear to believe that the only way to stay relevant in the discussion is to be outlandish, and I think they accomplish that really effectively. The story, I guess you can call it a story, is convoluted in the sense that I was never truly sure where this was headed. I was horrified and entranced though, but I did feel like I needed a shower after. I guess there is kind of an underlying storyline that follows Joe's case of murder for hire against Carol Baskin, but I think a lot of that gets pushed to the sidelines as the ridiculous characters jockey to be the center of the narrative. Now, if you're into conspiracy theories, you'll probably feel right at home with some of the subjects of this. They are so wrapped up in their own twisted tales, believing that everybody is against them and conspiring to make them fail. Now, this is a pretty quick binge at only 5 episodes, and each of those are about 40 minutes long. They went by really quickly, but they don't feel 100% cohesive. Like I mentioned, the storytelling is a little convoluted, but by the end, I think an understandable tale has been woven for us. There are some short interviews with some of the normal people from the first season, and I call them normal just in the fact that they didn't come across like attention hounds. These were people who appeared that they really did care for the animals. There's also an interview of one character who became way more sympathetic than I could have imagined. The dude is still a bad guy, but he was attempting to regain integrity, at least in how all of this was edited together. So while the first season of this documentary was filled with entertaining antics and over-the-top personalities, in this second season, we get way more mudslinging in what seems to be a competition to see who can be the biggest a-hole. There are very few people featured in this where you can feel any good sense of sympathy or connection, but there are a couple. The majority of the time, though, it's just a disgusting display of hubris that's turned up to 11. And I know that part of the draw of the first was the train wreck of people involved, but this season has a different tone to the execution. And while I'm not sure a second season was ever something the filmmakers had anticipated, it does feel like they're teeing up something for the future. And while this is entertaining, ultimately this is a more sad and depressing entry into the Tiger King saga, so you may want to watch something a bit cheerier afterwards. There's no sex, a little bit of nudity, an amazing amount of profanity, and not really any violence, but there are images of animals in distress, which is pretty terrible, but it's also not exploitative. I do recommend checking out Tiger King 2, especially if you have been chomping at the bit for more of the big cat world. Were you a fan of the first season? Have you been looking forward to this one? I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything that they uncover in this one in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris, this is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. I'll see you around, all you cool cats and kittens.